Good afternoon, beautiful people. Today is my day 4 video. And today, actually, I wake up, I've been feeling quite daydreamy and I feel like very much like in a flow state. Last night, I had energy works with someone, and what he did was he helped me connect to my higher self and did some energy clearing and connecting to my higher self. In the whole session with him, I was feeling like so much goosebumps and energy wave just going through my body. And also I feel like it just feels really, really in flowing state. It's just so beautiful. It's kind of like, you just like feel really flowing. It's wonderful. So let's see what's gonna come out of me today. And let's create from a flow state. Me and Tyler actually had a meeting today about the next stage of the business. And we're actually designing a timeline together, like what needs to be done. For example, needed to get the products packaging and manufacturers, marketing, kickstarters. So it's like list of things we needed to get done. But we were like, when we're talking about this timeline, we feel there's so much restraint our body. Our body just feel like something's not feel right. But what's been coming through to us, which is separately, in the meditation space, is that we keep hearing this voice, our intuition telling us that write a book and then share your story to the world. And then when me and Tyler was like, oh, we both wanted to share our story to the world. So, story to the world. But then we always feel like, this is the story to the world. But we always feels like there's a gap between where we are to where we wanted to be. Originally we said after we launch the brands, launching the products, we can go on broadcast, we can apply for some show and just go there and share our story. We're like, we must do this X, Y, Z. And today we're like, you know what, we actually been creating this brand so far from flow state, and since it's been unfolding itself really effortlessly. Who come up with a brand name within few minutes? What we did, and just everything just happened so much in flow. We were like, we promised ourselves, we set up an intention to create this business from flow state, and we can't just like, okay, let's create this business from flow state, but let's just do it halfway. You can't just do it halfway, you have to do it just full in. So we had this discussion, like, we've both been receiving this message from our higher self, from the universe. Let's write a book, let's share our story. Then we just have to jump. Then we kind of like, we know what we needed to do with the marketing and stuff, but we can't do that at this moment because we not feel the energy in that space. But what we feel the energy is sharing the story. And I was looking at this, and then what's very interesting for me was that when I'm looking at marketing, I look at, okay, I need to run a Kickstarters, and I'm just writing, and I needed to do PPC, I need to do a website, okay, in different orders, but there's like a list of things I needed to do, right? So like marketing, Kickstarters, website first, and PPC, and then. But this is like an old way of running business. It's like a way that we must do this way, or we should do this way. It's not from a flow state, because our intuition can only tell us what's next, where the energy feel flowing, where does it actually feel good. Because in our old self, it doesn't make sense that we are actually going to write a book now. We're actually going to write a book, or like in the middle of the business, when we actually have a deadline to launch in the Kickstarters by end of the January. It doesn't make sense. But that is the old way. That is our old belief. That is our ego's old belief. No, the things already happened in the past. So since we're tapped into the new space, which is intuition, and our intuition is like, just write a book. You could write a book in a few days. I know it sounds crazy. But Dr. Wendell, after he went to, so Dr. Wendell's story, I think most of us know, is that one day he went to his dad's grave, and when he practices unconditionally forgiveness, everything shifted. He got back to the hotel, he wrote a book within 12 days. And this book is the bestseller book, and it's been sold 60 millions. So it's not really the length of times you need to write something. It's that are you actually, tapped into your higher self, your intuition, and creating from this space. And if you look at, there's many examples. For example, J.K. Rowling, when she was writing Harry Potter book, she was broke. She was living a unhealthy relationship. And one day she was on a train journey. Suddenly these ideas of Harry Potter, obviously back then it didn't call it Harry Potter, this idea comes through to her. She started writing on a napkin. And then this Harry Potter is born. So yeah, really, it's not really about the length of times you need to use to create something. The question here is that are you creating from your higher self? Because if you are creating from your higher self, creating from your soul purpose, you're not going to fail. And things just going to flow so effortlessly. We did a revisit of last 2 weeks of what actually we achieved. Literally everything. Last 2 weeks we'll come up with the brand name, brand logos, and we trademarked things that we wanted to trademark. We have a formula to the products, like 80%, and we met this beautiful soul really aligned with us. She's a scientist, and to help us to improving more on the products, and there's other stuff as well. But it's just like when we're looking at it, we're like, wow, we actually done a lot by not doing it. That is actually where is the interesting point, because I think me and Tyler, we don't work 12 hours a day, 8 hours a day even. We kind of just go with energy flow. And yeah, we have our logical mind of ego. Ego tell us you need to do this way, but we choose not to listen to that side of us. We're choosing to listen to our intuitions. I believe that everyone have intuitions, because our intuition is a connection to our higher self, is to the shared intelligence. But the only reason that people are not listening to their intuitions is because they have a fear. And this fear is normally coming from our 2 million years old brain. What I also found very interesting about this is, as a child, we're so innocent, we're so full of love, we're just like a beautiful energy. It's because a child is operating at alpha state. So when you're operating at alpha state, you just energy, you're full of love, and you're operating at a higher conscious. And if you look at a child, they don't have to go somewhere to do something, to please someone. They just be themselves, and people gravitate towards their love, beautiful, innocence, energy. And we have this child in us. We all have it. And it's our inner child, this innocence within ourselves, which is full of love and beauty. The child in me want to be on the stage and sharing my voice to millions of people and just share the story. But then there's a voice come to my head and tell me that why I can't have what I can, why I can't have it. It could be that people think I'm crazy the way I talk. Maybe people think that, oh my god, because what I'm talking could be controversial, Or my brain could be like, yeah, who's gonna listening to you? What do you know? How much science data do you have? How much proof do you have? Or there's another voice could be, your English is very basic. Who's gonna listen to you? So there's a voice coming out of my brain to tell me what I shouldn't do, what I feel right here. And that voice is actually normally coming from our parents or generations of patterns or environment. You know, that's why we talk about there's a patterns will repeat by itself. If you look at our parents, they normally carry on a similar patterns to their parents. And if you going backwards even more, you can see that there's another, our parents' parents were also carrying similar patterns. That's why in this energy field, you know, in the quantum field, in the universe, there's no good or bad because everything's a duality. I know some people don't agree with that, but that's okay. This is my perspective. I'm here to share my voice. And in the quantum field, they don't see this as bad or good. They just see it as patterns and energy, and pattern energy they're repeating by itself. So that's why we carry generations of guilt, shame, different patterns. So one good example is that one of the parents is alcoholic. That in that one of the children have one, addiction behavior, or one of the parents divorced at this age and left the family, then the children actually does the same. So it's very similar, following the patterns. And why do we actually do this? The reason we're doing this is that this is something I've been talking with Tyler, and he helped me see something even more interesting on that. Is the first voice is our inner child, our soul, our intuition, our alpha state. The second voice is our parents' voice, our society voice, how we grew up. So basically, there's a two voice, right? And the second voice, if it's because our parents' voice tell us that why we can't have what we want, or why we can't be ourselves, or why we have to do things in different ways, that what actually it does is that we gravitate towards that voice is because we want to feel loved from our parents. So that's where the problem with, in therapies, they talk about codependency. They talk about, certain type of behavior. But what I believe is that it's actually just energy expressed by itself. So I wanted to go out there and share my voice. This voice of my mother or my father comes. For example, with my Chinese father, that he's a very beautiful, talented person, but he never followed his dream, because he actually carried generations of behavior from his father. My mother is very beautiful soul, very nice person, very kind, but she does come across sometimes she knows better. And while with her, I never trained to trust my own intuitions. So I would do something and then look back, looking for approval from her. And I'm keep myself in this trapped space. The more I trap myself in this space, the more I attract people to fulfill this space. So what that means is, if you send on energy to people that I need approval from you, and I'm looking for approval so I can feel loved, there's nothing wrong, okay, looking for approval from people. Don't blame yourself and don't feel bad. There's another thing our ego does, is that our ego likes to make ourselves feel that we're not enough, we're bad, and add more shame and guilty on top. That's actually where the problems even more and more trapped you. So we're sending out this energy that we need approval from other peoples or different places, that will attract more this type of people to fulfill their stories. That is why sometimes you look at, let's say there's a friend of yours, she has this relationship with this man. After a few months dating him, she realized that this man is not good for her. For example, this guy could be unavailable. Then what you see there is that after a few months, she broke up with this man. she ended up attracting a man who are very similar. She dated a man very similar to the previous one. The difference is that the names, the looks, is because she's repeating that pattern. And the reason that she's repeating that pattern is because she's sending out this energy. So in the field, in the energy field, we are attracting who we are, the energy we send out to the universe. So, and then there's magnetic attraction there and to send back to you. So I'm sharing this with you, I don't know, like I just see this coming through to me. So we just have to be really aware that our first voice, which is our intuitions, and this expansion of energy comes up, go follow it. And know that if you have another voice comes up, which is why you shouldn't do what you do, blah blah blah, that could be just your generations of patterns. And then just be aware of it, but then go for the intuitions, because your intuitions really is your higher self, is your highest consciousness. Do you want to live in a life which is connected to your higher self, or do you want to live in a life which is culture conditioned, that is actually just you relive your parents' life and generations of patterns? And you have to just make a choice. And obviously meditation really helps to recognize the voice. And I would say, if you don't do any meditations and you just say I know mindset, I would say you think you know, but without practicing it, you don't know. And so this is very important. So for us today, we were like, we want to write a book, and just the energy feels right, and it's very different to how we run a business in the past, which is make very precise timeline, exactly what we need to do in the next few weeks. Even talk like that, it makes me feel heavy. So it feels like writing a book. And then we're just gonna go write a book, and we don't know what's gonna come out of that. Maybe we'll have a beautiful story, or maybe we're going to share it with the world. Maybe we don't need to do marketing anymore because people start to hear our voice. Maybe we're gonna get invited into some show like Oprah Winfrey show, which is my dream. Because there is a gap between here is you and here's where you want to go. The work is not really how many hours a day you work from here to here. So here could be that you want to be on Oprah show, you wanted to have a bestseller book. I don't even care if it's bestseller or not. I care if I'm speaking my truth. And it could be that I want to speak to millions of people. So this is me. This is also me. This is where I am now. This is where I wanted to go. What most people do is that they believe there's a time. There's a time in the 3D realities, but in the quantum field, there's no time. So what you can do is, instead of say, stage 1, I'm going to practice to do 100 broadcasts, to go on to different shows, to make some millions, to do X, Y, Z, so I can be here. It's because our mind is conditioned to see from here to here. I have to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. The question here is that, why can't you do a quantum jump, which is closing the gap? And the reason that we actually can do that, we actually can do a quantum jump, which is closing the gap. Dr. George Spencer talks about that, talks about why some healings is happened instantly. But in the 3D realities, when you're healing, you need X amount of months for the body to heal. But through meditation, people was able to heal in his meditations from physical illness within few days. How that happens? They actually did a study on this. So if you want to know more, I would say go to watching Dr. Joe Dispenza. For me, I'm not a theory type of person. I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you exactly the science evidence, but I'm very tapped into my own intuitions and the intelligence, so I can share things that would come through to me in a way that I like to express. So you actually can close in this gap by doing the quantum jump. And one of the most important thing you can do to closing this gap is that you need to feel that you are deserving it. Most people say, I want to, let's say for me, I say, I wanted to be on Oprah show. I want to speak in front of millions of people. But I don't believe I can. I wanted to, but I don't believe I can. And one of the reasons I don't believe I can before is because I don't feel I deserve it. That took me some time to remove all these layers for me to see this. Is that I actually realized that unconsciously in my brain, I just don't feel I deserve to have it. I don't feel I deserve the success. I feel people is not going to listen to me. Ultimately, it comes down to the space that I feel unloved, just being me. So that's where the problem is. That's why people can't close in a gap. That's why they can't move themselves really fast. I met my partner after really fast, and then we got engaged really, really fast. Everything's really fast in terms of timeline, and in terms of this business, everything happened within 2-3 weeks. It's really fast. It's because we actually have to change our being. When I change our being doesn't mean be someone else. It's actually called removing layers. In some ways, we actually just have to go back to our childhood innocence. Go back to that child innocence and know that your brain will tell you weird stuff, which is sabotaging you. It's because the conditions from our families or environment, and that is not you. Once you can identify that, then things start to shift. So for example, another thing was coming up for me more and more recently is that people say you needed to have a marketing strategy to run a Kickstarter. You needed to have X, Y, Z. You needed to do this. You needed to do that. And I need to just feel really restrained. Even me talking about it, it feels really, really restrained. And I'm here. I'm feeling my own intuition, and I have been just come to the microphone, sharing what's coming through, sharing what's coming through to me. But in the space of authenticity, you are not going to waste a lot of time to figure out some kind of marketing strategy. Because I started to feel all this marketing strategy, you needed to do this way, this way, this way. It's a way of manipulating. Because why can't you just be honest? Why can't you just share with people how you feel? Why can't you be a human? I used to do that myself a lot. I have to be planning certain things certain ways. And even recently, when we signed up to this scientist, this part of me I needed to have a strategy how to talk to her. And I was like, no, I don't. I don't need to have a strategy. I don't need to have a strategy. I'm just going to talk to her as a soul to another soul. I'm going to talk to her as my higher self to another higher self. I'm going to talk to her from my heart, from my authenticity, from my space. Because sometimes we forget that the people we're connecting with are humans. It's because we're so afraid that we're not going to be loved, accepted, and liked by other people that we wanted to put this mask. And what's ended up happening is that everyone is putting more and more and more masks on themselves. We don't even know who we're talking to anymore. And you know what? Our intuition can feel it if someone's authentic or not. And so I started to see that one of the reasons I was able to do this business really fast with my partner, since it's coming through to us really fast, is one of the reasons that is we actually not wasting our time to planning things and to strategizing things. And that's a really fresh, actually. I never even know business can be done this way, and this flow state of business is also a new space for us. And sometimes I will share vulnerability, like my fear of abandonment in the videos before I made, that I actually have to move through that. So what is actually the work here? Is actually the work is planning your marketing strategy, or is actually the work here is to accepting yourself and love yourself, embrace yourself, and heal from your past wound, so you can come out and just speaking your truth, speaking your soul to another soul. That's beautiful what I just said, actually. I loved it myself. I just feel the tears in my eyes. Yeah. And another thing, I guess, is that we can do it really fast is also because that we wanted to do something from our intuition. We just followed instead of fighting left and right and fighting and keep thinking, if I do this, would people accept me? How would other people feel about this? Or would this market ready for this? We actually stopped all of that. Otherwise, how can we use a logo that a name just come within the space within 4 minutes? We can't do that. If we actually start thinking about all this acceptance by other people, what if we just stand out to be us and we attract the people into our field that really resonating with our voice, instead of be someone else and then try to looking for the approval, and the energy always gonna send out is that I needed to be accepted by other people. I need to look at what market want. The problem with that is that you're always gonna have that energy out, and you're always gonna attract people like that into your space. So I would say, if you really want to make a quantum leap and to really creating from your higher self, you almost have to let go of your own identity and let it go. Yes, you're aware of there's a voice inside you that is coming from the culture, and follow your intuitions. And the more you practice follow your intuition, the stronger it gets, the louder it gets, the more you hear it. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for watching my video today, and I really appreciate and love you guys, and thank you. Have a beautiful day.